You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Word up, I'm with my pal Mikey, and we have an exciting major announcement to make today, and he's going to really help me bring it home. Some things I can only describe myself from a Pokemon perspective, but there's other things that I'm less knowledgeable about. So that being said, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Mikey, and why you're here today?
Like Zach said, my name is Mikey. I'm a data scientist out of Seattle, Washington. And for the past year, I've been working on a project called Objective Deck. When it launches on September 1st or 2nd, Objective Deck is going to be the world's first high-performance training program for the Pokemon trading card game that's entirely data-driven. And what that means is, as a player, you're going to be able to upload your game logs from games that you had played in the Pokemon trading card game online application. And you're going to be able to measure your performance in great detail, see how you're improving over time. In addition, you'll be able to use these tools to create data-driven like deck design and really dial in what cards you should be using in your deck.
Yo, that sounds really cool, actually. As a professional player and content creator, it's one of those things where you're definitely speaking things that are intriguing to me. Maybe if you could explain a little bit more about Objective Deck and where you started, because not everyone just jumps into Pokemon immediately and wants to build something like this or create something like this. So why don't you let us know what is Objective Deck and why did you build it?
Yeah, so last summer I kind of became fascinated with learning about how data science techniques were being used to advance the level of competition in, effectively every sport. And I began to wonder if similar methodologies that were used in traditional sports could be applied to esports as well. That's kind of where the initial idea for this body of research came from. And having recently gotten into the Pokemon trading card game online during the pandemic, I was looking for tools that could help me improve, and there just really wasn't much available. So I decided to start learning as much as I could about the game. I connected with professional players just like Zach, and together we were able to create data sets that we were able to do meaningful analysis on. And I think we've put together something pretty special.
That's super cool. And I mean, I know that from the work that we put in, there's been a lot of long nights. And I mean, even now recording this video and it's super fun. But really, one thing that I'm excited about for the project is really the way that it's allowing me to change who I am as a player and the way that I talk about things. A lot of players toss around terms such as busted and this deck is broken and this deck is really good, it's tier 1. And these are things where, yeah, they might be busted or broken in the sense of where it's a term that players made up, but a lot of the times they can mask things. And that's one thing that I've noticed personally. I know you've called them weasel words and stuff like that. What can Objective Deck really do for the game in the way that we view the game or the way that we talk about this game?
Yeah, so I think a side effect of Objective Deck is that for the first time in the game's history, there's really a format for scoring a game and quantifying what a given deck does well and what it struggles with. So instead of using words like best or great or good or busted or broken, we're able to really drill into what a deck is doing and talk about it in a quantifiable, evidence-based way. For example, if you're using Welder and Centiskorch VMAX together, you could attach a lot more energies than, say, an Eternatus VMAX deck could. However, if you think about it, Eternatus is doing the same amount of damage with 2 energies that Centiskorch is doing with 5 energies. So really what we could be saying is, Centiskorch VMAX has the better energy acceleration rate, while Eternatus VMAX has, a better energy efficiency. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those terms mean later in the video. But now that we have the ability to quantify gameplay performance, which is not something we had in the past, I think that really elevates the way we're able to converse and discuss the game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with it. I know we could probably sit here and talk about all this stuff forever and about what it is or what it's not, but would you be okay if we showed people exactly what we're looking at or what we're working with? Can we look at Objective Deck?
Yeah, absolutely. Our development team, myself included, just finished up our alpha version, and I'd love to share it with everybody.
That's sick. All right, let's get into it and see what we got working on here. All right, so here we are at the single game analysis on the website. So after you've uploaded a deck list here that you can just copy and paste your deck list from PTCGO, name your deck, and upload a game log, name the game log, put the deck type, your opponent's deck type, we can go through in the single game filters. So we're going to select our deck. I was playing around with Rayquaza Flaffy a little bit before, and we're going to select the game that I played here. Let's go ahead and run this report. Starting off at the game, it shows some basic game overview where it tells me exactly what won, the deck that I played against, my opponent's info, if I went first or second, and how many turns are in the game. I'll pass it over to you, Mikey, about the turn series analysis.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this analysis. So effectively what this is cumulative actions over the course of the game. This is how your actions accumulated, right? For the mathematically inclined, this is a cumulative sum. So if we go to like turn 8 and hover over the gray line, we could see by the 8th turn in the game, we had drawn 28 cards. And as we move down the line, we're moving forward in turns taken, and we could say, okay, by the 9th turn, we had drawn 29 cards. And a really cool aspect of this plot is we could actually toggle actions on and off, and we have almost every action that you can possibly take in the game. So you can really dial in exactly what you want to look at, the relationships between different actions that you really want to study, and see when in the games you're starting to get attacks off, when in the games you're starting to deal damage. If we go down to the next set of plots, we have action totals and actions per turn. So this is looking at action volume, which is how many times in that game you got an action off. And then also action frequency, which is like how often you got that action off, right? So with this deck, you could see like you drew 38 cards. I'm sorry, with this game you drew 38 cards. And then if we go to per turn, we could see that per turn we drew 4.75 cards. So that's how fast you're drawing cards versus the total number of cards that you drew.
For sure. And if there's anything that you need to know about what's going on in these plots, there's also a little eye. We're going to be working with some professional players and content creators. So it's going to explain what's going on in these plots as you explore the website for the first time and really understand what's going on with that. And eventually there will be a video that will pop up and be like, "Word, it's me, Zach Lesage. We're going to be going over this," but that's a little bit in the future. Right now it's just some text. Moving on to the efficiencies and accelerations. I know Mikey knows a lot about this, so I'll also pass it back to you.
Sure. So energy acceleration, damage acceleration, attack acceleration are basically the same thing as a per turn metric. So energy acceleration is just the number of energies that you attack per turn. Damage acceleration is just how much damage you dealt per turn. But efficiencies, I think, are a little bit more interesting, right? We're talking about the bang for your buck, you know? How much damage are you dealing per energy card that you had attached? You know, how much damage do you have to deal to take a prize card? You know, that would be damage efficiency. And how many attacks do I have to take to actually take a prize card? That's attack efficiency. And what this is doing is it's taking these actions and it's putting them into context. And it's really letting you know what you need to do or what you needed to do in this game to accomplish favorable outcomes.
For sure. And the last plot that we have is the damage report. So you can explore the total amount of damage dealt and the amount of damage dealt per turn. So in the games that we played, the total damage was 870 damage, and in here it is 108 per turn total. So really giving you an idea of what's going on in the entire game and what's going on a per turn basis. Now, this is just a single game analysis, and this is only showing us the deck that we played in a particular game. So the Rayquaza Flaffy deck playing against a Blacephalon deck. Now, why don't we look at what a single deck analysis would look like? Now, I think, Mikey, you wanted to talk about your Shadow Rider deck? All right, so jumping to the single deck analysis, we can go to the single deck filters. Now, I know Mikey wanted to talk about his deck, his Shadow Rider Calyrex Dragapult deck. So we're going to select that. You could choose between win conditions or to exclude win conditions. We're just going to go with all the games and run the reports. Now, clicking on win reports, you can see Mikey's doing pretty well for himself, winning 75% of the time and losing only 25% of the time. Now, depending on how many games Mikey's uploaded, that's really good. This could be 4 games. This could be 1,000,000 games, depending on how much you've added into the database with the decks that you've chosen or the games that you've uploaded. It's really going to affect these. So specifically going first seems like it's really good. He's winning the games going first. Going second is 50-50. So immediately you could look at this and be like, my deck is better to go first here. If that's something that you've been struggling with, I know there's some decks, I hear Rapid Strike Urshifu players debate it all the time. This might be something where you could actually upload all your games and determine if it's better to go first or second. Now, with actions totals and actions per turn, I'll let Mikey really explain over what's going on in this plot.
Sure, this is going to be really similar to what we saw in the single game analysis, right? With actions per turn, action totals. Except here, instead of looking at a single game, we're looking at all of the games that were played with this deck. We're aggregating that data and taking the average. So we could say, Shadow Rider, Dragapult, on average, when I play that deck with my list, I'm drawing 11.25 cards per turn. And if I could look at the action totals, we scroll down a little bit, on average per game with this deck, when I play it, I'm drawing 42 cards per game. And this really gives me a good idea across a larger sample size, what my deck's capacity is. This is, I think, a better thing to paint with something like, energies attached, where if I need to attach 10 energies to get my win condition off, but I'm only attaching, on average 7, I need to make a change to my deck list.
For sure. And here, if we go between actions per turn, wins or losses, you can see the games that Mikey was winning, he was drawing more cards at 11.55 per turn, whereas the games that he was losing, he was drawing 9.4. Same thing with a few of the other metrics. They're slightly different. This is a great way to identify if something is going well, such as drawing cards, or if it's going south, it's not drawing cards. Some decks are going to be a little bit different. Maybe drawing too many cards might be the way that you're losing games. That might be because you're running through your deck too quickly. You don't want to research and deck out. That would suck. So maybe those are games where you might want to lower that down. But for this particular thing, Mikey's deck does draw more cards. It does have that Underworld Door ability, and drawing more cards means he's probably getting off more abilities, attaching more energies, and it probably all connects together. And it also shows you here the average action total overall. So in the games where he's winning, he's drawing 42. The games where he's losing is 47. With him only losing one game, it could have been a very close game or a very weird game. That's going to
have also been a game that went a little bit longer than the other games.
Exactly.
Because I didn't win.
No game of Pokemon is identical, or at least they're very, very rarely they're not identical. I haven't played 2 games of Pokemon that are the same. So looking at things averaged up or totaled up together is a sum, 42 to 47. There are things that you could look there. Now, the efficiencies and accelerations is something that we've looked over a little bit, but I'll pass it back over to Mikey to explain what we're seeing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're seeing the average efficiency and acceleration. And of course, we have that for energy attachment, we have that for damage, and we have that for attack. We have different sections for each. We're looking specifically at energy efficiency here, and we have it split out between wins and losses again. So we could see that I'm actually a little bit less energy efficient when I'm winning than when I'm losing. And I think the main reason for that's going to be when that deck gets off, when it's really doing well. I'm able to attach a ton of energies, more than I'm going to need through Underworld Door. And what this is telling me right now is that, having 4 Shadow Riders on the bench, maybe not super necessary. And it's giving me, like, hey, you're being a little energy inefficient. And that spots in your deck you might be able to reallocate. So that's kind of giving me a clue there. And then, of course, we have similar sections for damage. And then we have a similar section for attacks. I don't think we need to go through them all individually. They're kind of the same cuts.
For sure. So it's very similar to what we've seen for the single game analysis, just with all the different decks. But one of my favorite things about Objective Deck is being able to look at the deck comparison analysis, being able to compare 2 decks. So let's say we're in a world where we want to compare let's say the Rayquaza deck that I just played recently compared to Mikey's deck. Maybe we're going to find something that makes one better than the other, or see if they're very similar. So we're going to go ahead and do Rayquaza Flaffy, and then we're going to go ahead and click Shadow Dragapult. Again, we could toggle the win conditions, see if there's anything going to filter, but we're going to run the reports here and see exactly what's going on. All right, so we've given the players a lot of information, and a lot of things have gone on in this video, but whether or not we've announced it before, said anything, bits and pieces, when are we going to be launching Objective Deck, Mikey?
Sure. So we're tentatively planned to launch on September 2nd. At that point, you'll all be able to access this. There will be opportunities for some players to access the site as early as September 1st. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be releasing more details about that shortly. And at that point, this will be kind of open game for everybody.
No, that's super sick, and I know that I'm super excited to get my hands on more of this site, and I'm sure a lot of competitive players, new players, I'm pretty sure everyone would want to just at least mess around with things, upload some game logs, upload some deck lists, play around with it. Is there anything else that you want to say before we head off here?
Yeah, I guess to tie everything together, one thing I would want to talk about is that now that we have the capability to quantify our gameplay, and we have the ability to use data science to really understand what's happening in the game, I think even more so than the past, the Pokemon trading card game is now an information-driven game. We've seen this happen sport after sport. You know, baseball is now an information game. Basketball is now an information game. The Pokemon trading card game online is now an information-driven game. And I believe that the players who take the time to really develop their skills, really build those data literacy skills, come into this application and practice in a way where they're really doing a lot of self-reflection on their performance, those are the players who are going to be able to perform at the highest levels. If you plan on playing this game at the highest level, I would highly recommend using this application, not just because I created it and I think it's really cool, but, ask yourself, if you were going to play a mirror match against yourself, same deck against yourself, except one version of yourself had a whole bunch more information than the other, who do you think would win? If you're a good player already and you're leveraging this type of data, you're going to become a great player. The level of competition for this game has been elevated. The bar has been raised. There is now a challenge, and I hope that players will rise to it.
And you want to know what I think that is extremely powerful in and of itself. So I'll let you leave it as that. I'm going to put some links in the description as well. So if anyone has any questions, you could send those over to questions@objectivedeck.com. Or if there's any sponsorships that you want to bring by, if you're excited about this, or even more excited than we are, or if you got a lot of money that you want to pass along, or even just some ideas, you can go to sponsorships@objectivedeck.com. So it was super cool. I'm really glad to have you here, Mikey. That being said, I'm excited for when Objective Deck actually launches so that more players can get their hands on it. That being said, I really enjoyed making this video with you. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Absolutely. Just thank you so much for having me on, Zach. It's always great to talk Pokemon with you. It's always a pleasure. Working with you on this project over the course of the past, like 8 to 11 months has just been an absolutely fantastic experience. Thank you so much for everything you've contributed.
Yeah, no worries. That being said, we'll catch up with everyone later. Be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.